In the rhythm of public service, timing is everything. And for Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, that timing collided with tragedy. As the calendar turned to July and Americans prepared to celebrate the 4th with fireworks and flags, Sen. Cruz found himself thousands of miles away, in Athens, Greece, immersed in a pre-planned vacation. The destination was ancient, the trip scheduled well in advance, but back home, disaster was unfolding with modern fury. Flash floods, relentless, violent, unforgiving, ripped through the heart of Texas Hill Country. Towns were swallowed by muddy torrents. Roads disappeared under rushing waters. Lives were upended in the blink of an eye. It was nature at its worst, and it struck during a weekend meant to celebrate freedom and stability. Cruz, watching from afar, saw the state he serves enter crisis. And in that moment, politics paused. He reached for his phone. He called the people who mattered most in such times: Governor Greg Abbott, leading the response on the ground, and President Donald Trump, commanding the national stage. The conversations were serious, direct, and urgent. Texas was bleeding. Help would be needed. Coordination was essential. Then came the pivot. There was no press release. No public spectacle. Just a decision: return. Fast. According to his spokesperson, Macarena Martinez, Senator Cruz promptly booked a flight home. Athens faded into the background. The Acropolis gave way to Austin. The senator left behind the comforts of international retreat for the raw aftermath of American destruction. He departed Sunday morning. He landed in Texas that evening. No delay. No dithering. No grandstanding. By Monday, the senator was in Kerr County, ground zero for the devastation. A place where lives had been lost, homes had been reduced to wreckage, and a community clung to resilience. Cruz stood shoulder to shoulder with first responders, local officials, and families in pain. He listened. He asked questions. He received the official briefing not from afar, but at the very site where the floodwaters had carved scars into the earth and into hearts. This was not about party lines. This was about Texas. About a state that stretches wide and faces every kind of trial: heat, drought, storm, and now, again, flooding. A state where nature's fury is always just over the horizon. And where elected officials must be ready to respond, not just with policy, but with presence. Cruz knows the stakes. He knows the criticism that comes when leaders are seen as absent. He's heard it before. But this time, he moved quickly. Quietly. Deliberately. And his return was not a headline. It was an act of duty. Texas doesn't need tourists during disaster. It needs leadership. It needs visibility. It needs someone who walks among the people when they're at their lowest, who sees the damage firsthand, who breathes the same humid, heavy air of recovery. And that's what Cruz did. From the elegant columns of Athens to the broken branches of Kerr County, the journey wasn't glamorous. But it was necessary. Because when a state floods, when homes vanish, when lives are lost, it isn't enough to send thoughts and prayers. It isn't enough to tweet condolences or send statements. You show up. And on this occasion, Senator Ted Cruz did. The Texas Hill Country is strong, always has been. But even the strongest need help when the waters rise. They need to know their leaders see them. That they are not forgotten. Cruz didn't bring all the answers with him. No one can. But he brought something else: visibility, connection, and a willingness to stand on soaked ground with the people who sent him to Washington in the first place. He didn't arrive with fanfare. He arrived with intent. And the work begins now. Kerr County and its neighbors will need resources. They'll need federal attention. They'll need insurance assistance, infrastructure repairs, and mental health support. And for that, they'll need their senator, not just as a voice in the Capitol, but as a bridge between Washington and the battered communities of Texas. This is where leadership is tested, not in speeches, but in steps. Steps toward people in pain. Steps into disaster zones. Steps that retrace the path home, even from across the world. For Ted Cruz, the week of July 4th began with plans for rest. It ended with action. And in between, a return flight was booked. A presence was made. And a promise, perhaps unspoken, was renewed: when Texas floods, its leaders must not drift. They must rise.